coming to you today with a Q&A video, and the topic will be the common questions a foreigner living here in Japan often get asked by Japanese. So I prepared a cheat sheet for you guys, so I won't ramble too much today. I have 12 questions that I chose. These are the questions that I got asked most of the time. So I've been here in Japan for quite a while now, and I get the same questions over and over again. It doesn't matter if I am in the restaurant or if I'm in the supermarket, if I'm at a new school, a new work or something like that. I always get asked the same questions over and over again. So you guys are probably wondering what these questions are. So let's start off with question number one. So question number one, this is the very, very basic question that they ask somebody, like they ask a foreigner when they meet them for the first time. Question is, where are you from? So obviously I'm from the Philippines. When I tell them that, some of them will be like, oh, Philippines, yeah, you guys have a lot of bananas and pineapples back home, because as we know, if you're not living in Japan, I'll tell you right now that most of the imported bananas that they sell here are at a supermarket or convenience store, or the ones that they serve at for school lunch, are basically, majority of it are from the Philippines. So they know Philippines and they equate it with bananas and pineapples. So yeah, that's their first reaction: bananas, pineapples. Or if you talk to an adult that loves traveling, they would say that, oh yeah, we know Cebu Island or Boracay Island, we've been there, we love scuba diving. Philippines has one of the greatest beaches in Asia that's perfect for scuba diving, you know, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. That's what that's their image of the Philippines. But also, this is a funny story, not a funny story, but kind of insulting in a way. I was at school one time, the first time I got there, it was a new school, and then one of the girls asked, just like, raised her hand, and she was like, oh, sensei, do you eat dogs? And I was like, no, I don't eat dogs, and it doesn't mean that I eat dog just because I'm from the Philippines. Maybe some people in my country eat dogs and some other countries as well, but personally I don't eat it. So do you have any more questions? And then she just sat down and kept quiet. Alright, so that was question number one for you guys. Question number two that usually Japanese will ask a foreigner: when did you come to Japan? How long have you been here? And my answer would be, I've been here since 2005. I came here that year, March of 2005, and I've been here for almost 9 years now. Yep. So number three question, they proceed to the next question: why did you come to Japan? Why did you come to Japan, or what do you do? So at first, when I came to Japan, I was invited by a relative, by my aunt, to go and just visit Japan, to tour around, and just, you know, to have a 3 weeks visit here in Japan. Then I was talked into applying or trying out for teaching jobs here in Japan, because at that time, teaching English in Japan was starting to be very popular among foreigners. So they were like, why don't you try and apply for a teaching job here in, for English, the English language? So I'm like, I'll give it a shot. So I applied online after I got here in Japan, and then I got hired by this company. So yeah, I did not go home for a year, because I came into Japan from a tourist to someone who works here as an English teacher. So there you go. And I have been teaching since I got here in Japan in 2005. I've already taught at kindergartens, public elementary school, public junior high school. Currently, I am teaching at 2 junior high schools, public junior high schools in this area where I live, and I love the school. I love my job. I mean, it's a pretty easy job. You know, all you have to do is to be very, how do you say that? Be very patient, I guess. Be very open-minded and creative and open to ideas. That's it. That's all you need. And of course, the language, which is English. I mean, anyone is doing it here, so I'm pretty sure anyone who's interested to go and try out teaching in Japan. You won't have any problems with that. So next, on to the number 4 question. Do you speak Japanese? This is one of the questions. Do you speak Japanese? And my answer would be yes, but I'm not really fluent with the language, because not in a native level, I think. I don't speak native level Japanese. It's more of a daily conversational Japanese. But yeah, I take it as a compliment, because people think that my Japanese is good, but although I'm not very confident with my Japanese, that's why I get nervous every time I use the language. But hey, I gotta learn the language, because that's your key to survive here in Japan, is to know how to speak the language and communicate with the locals. So then again, there are times that when people ask you, do you speak Japanese? And you say, yes, I do speak Japanese. And then they'll start talking to you in Japanese in a very fast pace. So you'll be like, hold up, I cannot really understand what you're saying. Could you please repeat that and try to dumb it down? Because there are people, especially, the elder ones or the senior ones, they try to use the words that nobody could even understand, or it's not easy for a foreigner to understand, so they needed to dumb it down a little bit to use a more common term. So usually I tell them that, could you please slow down, repeat that, or could you please rephrase what you said, because it's kind of hard for me. Yeah, because they assume that once you said that, yes, I can speak Japanese, they think that you're a native level Japanese speaker, which is not true in my case. Yeah, so what else did I write here? I actually wrote some notes here so I won't forget what to say. Also, sometimes when you say, do you speak Japanese? When they ask you, do you speak Japanese? And you tell them, yes, I do. But some Japanese would still speak to you in English. I don't know if some of them might just want to practice their English with you, which is a good thing. Or, I don't know what the deal is. But sometimes when I speak to them in perfect Japanese, they would respond in perfect English. I get a little, not insulted, but I get a little disappointed, upset, because I feel like my Japanese level or my Japanese skills are not good enough, because I thought I spoke perfect Japanese, but then they will respond in English, and that would just make everything complicated, because I don't understand them. I don't understand what they're trying to say in English. So, it makes the conversation even longer. So usually I'll tell them that let's just use the language that we both speak and understand, which is Japanese. So make it easier for both of us. So there you go. That's the number 4 question. Number 5 question. Your Japanese is good. Where did you learn to speak it, or did you study the language? Like I said earlier, whenever a Japanese would tell me that, oh, your Japanese is so good, I feel really good about myself. I feel very confident, although I am really not. And I really love hearing those, because I feel like my Japanese is, progressing each time. But to be honest, I did not study the language. When I came here to Japan, my Japanese ability was 0, to be honest with you. I did not know any Japanese words, any Japanese phrases. That's it. And then as as the years went by, I stayed here, I worked at schools, I hear it every day, I watch TV, I watch news and stuff like that. That's how I learned to speak the language. And when I don't know anything, like when I hear a word and I wanted to know what the meaning is, write it down, ask somebody, or research it on the internet or something like that, and then, that's how I learned to speak the language. But gotta be honest with you, I still have a lot of work to do. I could read kanji, the Chinese characters. Some of them I could read, but writing is very difficult for me, considering Japanese has like 3 different characters that they use. The Chinese characters, the kanji, the katakana, the hiragana. So, it's like brain fart sometimes for me. I'm like, no, I'll just like switch back to my alphabets, because it's easier to read and understand. But you gotta have to learn how to speak, read, and write Japanese. For number 6 question, which is, can you use chopsticks? Yes, I can, of course. I can use chopsticks because I grew up using chopsticks in my house because my family, we eat a lot of other Asian slash Oriental foods. So yes, I can use chopsticks pretty well. And also I am a lefty, so every time a Japanese person sees me using a chopsticks with my left hand, I find it really cool and amazing to see somebody who's a lefty and can use chopsticks very well. Why? Because in Japan, it's not rare these days. It is not rare, but it is not very common for a Japanese to be a lefty. They're mostly right-handed people, and I think back in the days when someone is trying to be a lefty, they try to change that so that the person or the kid will use their, his or her right hand to write or to do anything, because I don't know what happened back then, but to them, being a lefty at that time was not really good. So they trained their kids, they trained students back in the days to use their right hand for everything. But these days you can see a lot of lefties. I mean, I'm happy to see a lot of lefties in my class. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's the question. Can you use chopsticks? Number 7 question. Do you like natto? So natto is spelled as Natto, and it's basically a rancid beans, like fermented beans. I don't know if they're soybeans, but Google image it and you'll see what I'm talking about. The smell is not really nice at first, and the texture of the thing is more like spider web like. That's why we call it the spider beans or something like that. And just the general image of the food, especially because usually we eat it with rice. You put it on top of the rice, and the image is not really nice. It looks like somebody did something on the rice that was already pre-digested. What they're serving you is already pre-digested or something like that. It looks terrible, but it is very healthy and it's very cheap. So it took me 5 years to be able to learn how to eat natto, because at first I thought it was the nastiest food ever served for school lunch. So that's the only time that I eat natto, is when they serve it for school lunch. But I never go to the supermarket and go ahead out of my way and buy like 6 packages of natto. I don't buy it. I only eat it at school for school lunch. So yeah, and most foreigners and even locals, they cannot eat it because it's nasty looking. But again, like I said, it's very healthy and cheap. So I suggest Google it up and check it out for yourself so you'll know what I'm talking about. So natto, Natto. There you go. Next question, number 8. What Japanese food you can't eat? You can't eat. So obviously I can't eat raw food, so it's definitely sushi, sashimi. Although I've tried tasting or I've tried eating sushi and sashimi, no thank you. I am not into raw foods. So no, that's the food that I can't eat, but everything else I can eat in Japan, no problem, okay? So yeah, so basically if sushi is the only food that is served, I probably starve to death. Number 9 question. Do you have a boyfriend? I got asked this question a lot of times before. So obviously my answer was, no, I don't have a boyfriend because I am married already. And sometimes, these rings, even if it's there, Japanese people sometimes they can't tell if those are accessory rings or if those are wedding rings or engagement rings. It doesn't clue them in for some reason. So yes, I tell them, no, I don't have a boyfriend, I am married. And then the next question will be, oh, is he a Japanese? And I'll tell them like, nope. Oh, is he from the Philippines? Is he a Filipino? Nope, he's not. And then they're like, so where is your husband from? So I tell them that he's from America, he's from the US, and they'll be like, oh, okay. So because if it's not rare, it's very unusual for two foreigners to live here in Japan, two married foreigners to be living here in Japan. They're not really used to that. They always see a foreigner with a Japanese partner, or somebody that's from the same country as that foreigner is from, but it's not usual to see like us and me and my husband to be living here in Japan, like two foreigners living here in Japan. So yeah, that's my answer every time I get asked if I have a boyfriend or where is my husband from. So next question, number 10. How cold is it in the Philippines during winter? So that's basically my reaction. Be like, really? No, we don't have any winter. We don't have any winter. We only have two kinds of seasons, if you want to call it season, or climate. That's more like it. Climate. Dry and wet. That's it. Dry and wet. That's it. So, it doesn't mean that we're close to Japan that we have 4 seasons as well. So, no. And it's very interesting because most of Japanese people, they don't know, they're not aware that the Philippines has no 4 seasons. They are not really, I don't know what to say, but sometimes it's just like, really? We have a lot of bananas and pineapples in the Philippines. We are a tropical country. Tropical countries don't have winter. Number 11. What do you like about Japan? Of course, I like the convenience here in Japan. I mean, let's be real. It's very convenient here. Convenience stores, banks, post office, city hall is very convenient. They do it really quick here in Japan. So that's one thing that I really like about living here in Japan. Of course, the foods, they're very nice. The presentations are always very, very nice, and it's very healthy as well. The way they prepare their foods here is very healthy. So I love the foods here. I love temples and shrines. I love going to, going on a trip to visit any temples or shrines. I love those. I love that the people here are very courteous and polite. Although sometimes you'll meet, some locals that are not brought up properly. But, in general, Japanese people are very courteous and polite, so I like that. And shopping, obviously, I like shopping. Everywhere you go in Japan, shopping is the best here in Japan. And lastly is the bowing. I don't know, for some reason, I find it very cool to see. Japan is the only place that I feel so much respected, because when I go to a convenience store, people will bow, when I'm leaving a salon, people will bow, saying just to express their whatever, to say thank you or something like that. I just feel so much respected here in Japan because of that bowing. That's why I love it so much as well. Okay, so those are the things that I like here in Japan. Last question, number 12. How old are you? Yes, you might think that, no, that's very rude to ask for Japanese people, and it's one of those taboo questions that a Japanese person would not ask you because they're afraid that, the person will get angry, especially a foreigner will get angry. But no, that's not true at all. I got asked by adults and kids, all ages, how old am I? So, I was asked many times, and I never hesitated to tell them my age, because I don't really care. I mean, I'm not that type of person like, oh, do not ask about my age, because, it's a very sensitive thing to ask, I'm like, really? It's just a freaking number. Just say it already, okay? So, yeah, I tell them that I am, 33. Like, this year I'm turning 33 in December, and I don't get offended, because some people get offended when they're asked about their age. I don't. No biggie. You can ask me my age anytime, any place, any day. I don't care. So, but sometimes it's so funny too that people will be like, oh, how old are you? And I tell them like, oh, I'm 32, I'm 33 this year. And they'll be like, really? Because you look like you're just like in your late 20s. And I just, give them the biggest smile and thank them because they think that I look younger. But, I'm not. I am getting really, really old. And yes, so with that being said, I am done with today's video, so I hope you guys find it interesting to hear what are the common questions we foreigners living here in Japan often get asked by Japanese. So if you're a foreigner like me living here in Japan or has lived in Japan, and give us a comment, give me a comment down below, or give it a thumbs up, or whatever, you know. So yeah, I'll see you guys on my next video, and thanks to my subscribers, and I just want to say hello to everybody out there, and yes, I'll see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, let me tell you about some chicks that